Hey everyone, my name is Abhishek and I want to welcome you all to the Practical Sales Growth Sessions. In the second episode of this series, we are going to talk about how you can improve your prospecting process using integrated communication system. Too many buzzwords, right? But believe me, in the end, you will have some really good and easy to implement strategies around your prospecting process. So before we start the webinar, I wanted to share some quick facts about the last webinar. As I have received multiple emails and requests around how we have done the setup and what numbers we are receiving. For the setup part, just send us an email at s@justcall.io and I would love to share the journey with you guys. Again, about the numbers. So we received 125 registrations from the last webinar and the live attendee count stayed 45 to 50 during the webinar. I can't say the numbers were that crazy, but yeah, definitely that acted as a booster for us to keep on going. Okay, and regarding session rules, so you can ask your question in the Q&A box. We will answer these questions during the webinar and in the Q&A round. Okay, over to you, Sandy.
Thank you so much for that, Abhishek. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us over here today again for our episode 2 of our practical sales growth sessions. And today we'll be discussing integrated systems and how they help you in pivoting sales outreach. Now, just to give a bit of a background about what has been going on until now, people who did not join us for our last episode, the first and the major thing that we did was we actually picked up some trends, some studies that have been going on in the world that we've been studying around the sales practices and the trends that are being seen from the month of January to the month of May 2020. And the changes, we've evaluated those changes, we've brought up a few changes, and we have developed a few strategies that will help you a long way, and especially in the conditions that have suddenly gone upside down of the whole process that you might have. Now, just to begin with, I'll first start with what agenda we have. So the agenda, first of all, of course, is, as I said, we'll be going over a few trends that have been observed. I'll just give a bit of a detail that this is a study that we've been following for the past 4 or 5 months. And it actually focuses on the trends that have been seen in the sales world. And we have been following these trends in order to develop certain strategies that we'll be sharing forward. We'll be also discussing how to build a virtual integrated system or a unified communication system around calls, SMS, and emails, outreach sequences that are being used by leading sales teams. We'll also emphasize on that. And at the end, I also have a very interesting case study to help you guys understand that what exactly the effect that such strategies bring to your table. Now, what's the current global situation? And that's the first point. First, as I said, that the sample space that we've covered is around 70,000 organizations in the US. This study is from the month of January to the month of May 2020 in terms of the sales outreach and the outcomes that these organizations have received. Now, the variations that we've seen is the number of deals created on an average has increased by 28% globally. Now, what this actually means, and let's decode this over here. This means that 28% of deals are being created. Let's say, that if there were 100 deals that were being created before January, now what's happening is that there are 28% more. So let's say, it's like 128. But what we've seen is that the number of deals closed has fallen globally by 34%. That means that even when our efforts are increasing, even when we are trying to connect with more people, still the closure numbers have been falling down steadily, and which is one of the most biggest concern, because if you look at what trends I have to show further, you'll be very surprised, because deals created numbers have restored. The call prospecting and email prospecting numbers have spiked, but the sales response rate is still flat. So this means that you're still doing the same kind of effort, but the number of people wanting to actually move forward is not, I'm not saying that it's less, but it's just that maybe we're not doing the right effort right now, because right now the approach that you need to have, it has to be more of, it has to be more strategic as well as empathetic at the same time. And here are a few more numbers. The total deals created, as you can see, has dropped by 24% if we move from over here to over here. But again, the open rate is increasing. Hence, people are open to engagements. You just need to figure out the best possible communication channel, and then you need to focus your energy with empathy and a strategy. Now, why is there a need for an integrated system? First of all, the major emphasis that we want to keep is the multi-channel approach. So, let's say you were reaching out to people via phones, via emails, maybe the occasional LinkedIn sometime. Now, times have changed drastically, and you need to have a better approach where you need to switch between the channels that you're trying to connect with people. Now, what is to change over here, that you need to make sure that you have the correct channel where people want to connect. Some might want to connect over phone, while some might not even look at their phones, and they might just answer to your emails. Or even better, there might be a situation where people are not ready to answer calls or your emails, but they'll respond to your texts. That is one of the biggest things that we'll figure out in this session. The second thing is time allocation. An integrated system takes away a lot of effort that you are spending in your current sales process in time allocation. Where you're spending most of your time. Is it on calls? Is it after the calls that you're taking down notes, etc., and everything, and then putting it into your CRM or the place where you store the data? Then there is, since that time allocation can be optimized, you'll have more time for relevant processes, and you can also reduce the stagnant task time allocation as well. And that is definitely going to increase your outreach. The best part is that all this can be done with a simple approach, and everything can be mapped and quantified, which is, of course, one of the biggest factors that we also emphasize on the use of integrated systems. And here's a classical example of different channels used by sales teams. So as you can see, the biggest chunk is of emails, phones, and SMS at the same time, right? That one club that allows you to connect with people in a more aggressive manner is when you club it with texting. And I'll when I'll move forward, I'll show you why I emphasize so much on texting, and why is it something that we think that it's a more aggressive approach. So as you can see over here that, there is email, phone, SMS, LinkedIn. Now, when I say LinkedIn, it can be more of social media profiling. Okay. Why I do not consider, maybe LinkedIn is not best for every situation, because it does not work in the B2C world. It does work in B2B, but the B2C part, I'm not really sure, or I don't consider it to work in the best way in the B2C world. Now, here's what we found to be a successful strategy. 3 steps: channelization, evaluation, and gratification. I'll explain these in steps. First is channelization. Now, channelization is where you have to decide that what is the best channel for you to communicate with your prospects or with any lead that is coming into your system, right? You need to understand that, maybe someone is more comfortable with calls, maybe someone is more comfortable with emails, or in order to give it a more aggressive approach, so that you can receive that one reply, you can mix things up as well. And I'll show you that moving forward after a couple of slides. So first is channelization. You need to understand the channels that you're going to use. Second is evaluation. Evaluation is to carefully use those channels to get a response back, right? you need to have your research in place. You need to make sure that you have an understanding of the geography you're calling in, of the industry you're calling for, and of the business you're talking to. Maybe, there are going to be situations where maybe the problems of the geography are not the problems of your leads, or not the problems of your potential customers. So of course, that is going to be a situation which you're going to take a call on at the last moment. But then again, you still need to have a pretty open and aware mind about what what are the ideal customer profile parameters that you need to have in place. And we call it ICP. And this is going to be a word that you're going to be listening a lot in during this presentation moving forward. Gratification is that increasing the chances of your conversion. Now, increasing chances of your conversion, of course, I know that's a very mythological word, but then again, increasing the chances of your conversions only can happen when you are building up that that trust, that information bridge between you and your potential customer. And that happens not just with your connect one-on-one. That is going to be in certain stages, with a lot of information exchange, with a lot of exchange of materials, and that is why that's where the trust builds up. So these are the 3 steps that we found to be a successful strategy. Now, these are 2 questions that I put forward. Why do you need an integrated system, and how do you build up an integrated system? First, we'll talk about the why. Why, again, I gave you some information earlier and I'll put it again over here. Increasing your customer interaction, of course, your time allocation is better. You optimize your sales cycle because then again, you're reducing certain steps, you are automating certain steps, right? So that optimizes your sales cycle. And also you have a proactive channel of communication, right? You're not missing out on anything. So that's why there is a need of the integration system. How there is a need of the integration, how you can create an integrated system is by 3 steps. First of all, combination. You need to have an understanding of your communication channel and what combination you want to use. Second is going to be prioritization. You need to have in mind that what channels are going to be prioritized in what manner. And then comes the implementation, which I'll move forward and discuss in the next slide. Now, here is a very interesting model that we built up. And this model actually comes up according to, there are 2 factors that we considered in place. The 2 factors are, first is the timeline of what your funnel leads are for. So we divided our funnel into 3 parts. First is the bottom of the funnel leads, which are of course at a timeline of 0 to 2 weeks. Then second is the mid or moderate funnel leads that are 2 to 1 month, and the top ones which are more than 1 month. Of course, everyone can have their own, you all can have a different funnel system as well. That's not a problem at all. Then the second number is where we consider the value part, now, which is high, intermediate, and low. Of course, that's going to be different for every other organization. This is something that I have created for my team, which is greater than $200, between 100 and 150, and less than $100 as well, right? These 2 factors where the timeline has a very big chunk decide the ICP score, which is ideal customer profile score. Now this score decides the integration moving forward that I'll explain. So let's say, if a lead is at the bottom of the funnel, that the timeline for their purchase is 0 to 2 weeks, and it's a ticket size of above $200. Then what we do is the ICP score is 9 for me, okay? And this is something which is decided based on the weightage that all these 6 parameters keep. So that is something, of course, that you can decide, or you can also help, come to us for consultation. We can always help you out in that case as well. But this is what it does, it gives me an ICP score of 9. If it's for a intermediate ticket size, then it gives me an ICP score of 5. And if it is for a low ticket size, then it gives me an ICP score of 3. When this happens, we segmentize our leads into 3 ways. High priority leads that have an ICP score of 6 to 10, mid priority leads that have an ICP score of 3 to 6, and low priority leads that have an ICP score of 1 to 3. As soon as you have your leads segmentized in this way, and mind you, these segments will be, will change as well at some point of time, because timeline has a big weightage over there. So now I'll begin that how exactly we're going to be creating integrated system for these 3 types of funnels.
Sandy?
Yes, Abhishek.
Yeah, so Jimmy has a question for you. Can you repeat what ICP meant, please?
Yes, ICP is ideal customer profile. I think it was J, right, Abhishek?
Yeah, Jimmy.
Okay, Jimmy. So Jimmy, ICP is ideal customer profile, which is quantified on a lot of factors. Now for us, let's say for me, if I am into a process of sales, my ideal customer profile is based on what timeline they have for buying, what is the ticket size, what is the industry. So these are the 3, 3 factors that I consider for my ICP. So that's the ideal customer profile for you to have. Like, if you draw a Venn diagram, that one intersection of all the 3 parameters for me is going to be my ICP, that ideal customer profile. All right. So moving forward, now these are a few strategies that we created on the 3 kinds of leads or priorities that we have already done. So the first one is the prospecting strategy for high priority leads. Now, high priority leads, if you remember, they have an ICP score of 6 to 10. Okay. Now, what this will do is, and think about it in this way, that 6 to 10 means that they have, a preferable amount of time to buy, plus they also have a good ticket size, right? So in that case, we want to keep it very aggressive. We need to make sure that we're connecting with them in person at the first point of time. And that is exactly why what we do is, as soon as we figure out that the ICP score is between 6 to 10, we go ahead and introduce a dialer situation where we give them call in person first up. As soon as we connect with them on a call, we go ahead and put them in an SMS and an email sequence campaign, right? Where they're being sent out SMS and emails in succession of days to make sure that we are making that engagement in place. So as you can see over here, the timeline of SMS and email automations is day 1, we send out an SMS and an email. Day 3 is an email. Day 5 is an SMS. Day 10 is an email and an SMS. Now, why did I give this gap? Because we need to make sure that, we are giving some time and we're not being very pushy, right? You don't want to come out as a desperate person. And day 14 is an SMS part. Now, why do I give SMS such an emphasis over here? I'm going to be describing that later on after just a couple of slides. But it's just to make sure that you're giving that extra push with SMS, because SMS is, it gets to a very personal thing when you talk about SMS. Now, this is where the strategy for moderate leads. And if you remember, moderate leads were the ones with ICP score of 3 to 6. Okay. So moderate leads are either ones that have a ticket size which is in mid-range, or they are, those leads that have a timeline of less than, some that we consider ideal. Before I move forward, I think, Abhishek, I have a question.
Yep. So yeah, Sam, we will be sharing these slides, and definitely we'll be sharing the recording also. So Sab has one question.
Yeah.
And I think this is really interesting. Like,
okay.
Do you think people read SMS in this social media world?
Right. Okay. See, now that's a very interesting question, and there can be 2 sides to it, Sab. SMSs
personally, if you receive a relevant SMS, okay, I'm pretty sure you'll definitely have a look to it. And if I talk about, of course, there is a segmentation in terms of marketing SMS and the SMS that are being sent out with a personalization effect, right? So even if I receive a marketing SMS which is a little personalized, I definitely go for it and read it. And if you have a look at the stats, and if you have a look at the strategies or the numbers that are out there for SMS open rates in terms of the social media or other platforms, the SMS open rates is the highest. And I'll describe that later on. If you go ahead and look at studies online, then that is also something which is proven. And we personally, since I work with a platform that offers SMS as one of its biggest parameters and one of its biggest advantages, we find that that is something which is effective. So as I was telling you, coming back to this discussion, and thanks for the question, Sav, I really appreciate that. Prospecting strategies for moderate priority leads. Now over here, the ICP score is between 3 to 6, okay? And when the ICP score is between 3 to 6, as I mentioned, that there is going to be a certain gap either in the timeline or in the ticket size. So in this case, you have to be a little aggressive, because you need to make sure that lead is coming to the bottom than being in the moderate part for a long time, right? And at the same time, you don't want to look very desperate, like making calls again and again. So what we did was, we actually determined that the first push that we want to give is SMS automation. We give push with an SMS automation part, and then put in the auto dialer. So after the SMS is sent out, we have made one engagement, and after that we'll go to the auto dialer, try and connect with them in one-on-one phase. If there is a certain connection, if there is a certain engagement in that case, then we put it to an email sequence where there is one-on-one email and calls. If not, then we circle them back to an SMS automation part where we wait, or we try to have engagements on the next level. Abhishek, I think we have another question. Abhishek?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Okay, so Sab is saying that he tend to disagree a bit. If we look at SMS tools and apps, there are hardly any investment in that area. It's hard to engage on SMS. I think this is going difficult for you, Sandy.
No, that's fine. No, I understand that, Sab. And see, as I said, there has to be two, there are definitely going to be two sides to this discussion, right? And people engaging in social media, as you said, I think I remember your question first up. You mentioned that you, in a world of social media. Now, if you talk about, people trying to connect as business prospects on social media, there are very less, first of all, there are very less proven strategies that you can have of social selling, right? There, of course, there is a concept, but proven strategies are very less. While SMS automation definitely does have an upper hand on social media part. But, definitely we can take this ahead on another platforms app. I think I need to just go ahead on this. So coming back to the prospecting strategy for low priority leads. And here, these leads actually require a lot of nourishment. They need to be nurtured. So there is going to be, as I said earlier, that there is going to be a lot of data exchange. There is going to be a lot of information exchange. Maybe not exchange, but maybe a way where you're sending it out and no one is getting back to you, right? But still, that is what we call email nurture campaigns with us, where we send out, update information. We send out newsletters. We send out maybe relevant, industry relevant informations as well. Once we see any engagement, then we put them into an auto dialer situation where we try and connect with them one-on-one. And again, if there is a hint of passive buying situation, we circle them back to an email nurture campaigns. And if they're interested, we focus them to a SMS campaign again. Now, SMS campaign again gives you more push. It gives you better chances of reflecting back. And then there is, of course, follow-up calls and follow-up emails. If again, after all this, if you see that there is a certain interaction that maybe it needs more nurturing, then you can, of course, circle it back. And that is something that we do. Again, as I said, that these are the strategies that we've been doing, and we've been gaining results from this. You can, of course, have a totally different approach. You can have a totally different channels, of SMS calls, emails, etc. But that completely differs and depends on your use case as well. Abhishek, any questions?
Yeah, Andy. So Sab is back with another dialogue. Okay, so he says social selling is the new normal long back. It's surprising that host mentions there are no proven strategies on social selling.
Mm-hmm. No, as I said, Sam, there are definitely going to be two sides to it. Okay. There are going to be people who are going to be interested in social selling. But then again, when you talk about social selling, you can't just be on the fact that you're going to be doing it via social media, right? It's that situation where people want to keep their social media networking or professional networking different from what they're doing for their jobs. So as I said, there are going to be two sides to it. And I don't disagree with you. I just say that I have a different opinion. And that's absolutely fine, I guess. And this is to answer the question that Sab had as well. And what I want to show up over here. SMS versus email open rate. This is something that you'll find on all the studies, on all the platforms as well. So this is where the email open rates and SMS open situations differ. And that's why we suggest SMS as a more aggressive approach altogether. Now, how to build an integrated communication system? And this is something which makes things a little interesting. So first of all, as I said, you need to understand your channels, the channels that you want to build up for your situations, right? Then either they can be all of these channels, calls, SMS, email, social media, everything, or they can just be one of them, or maybe a few of them, right? The integrated system part helps over here because all of these need to be connected to one system altogether, which is your CRM. Now, this would help where, of course, you can connect your calls to your CRM. There are a lot of tools for it, and I'll display those over there after this slide. There, SMS, of course, that is something which can be integrated. Emails, there are certain tools that allow you to integrate your emails into your CRM as well. And of course, social media as well. You can link that to a third-party app. We don't recommend that. Why? Because there are, if I talk about LinkedIn, and if you are connecting your LinkedIn to a third-party app like Zapier, LinkedIn is smart enough to even block your ID very quickly. Tools to build an integrated system you need. Now, these are a few tools that we recommend. Again, you can have your own, you can have certain tools that you would like as well. Maybe that's not mentioned over here. And maybe you can have these ones as well. Now, of course, see, I recommend JustCall for the calling part, HubSpot as a CRM, and for the email sequences. ActiveCampaign does this very same thing. Zapier is the third-party app that I talked about earlier. You see a name Helpwise over here, and Helpwise is actually it's a system, it's a shared inbox that integrates with a lot of CRM. And the best part is that these CRMs integrating with Helpwise give you that one, let's say if you're in any such situation where you want to make sure that you're replying to your customers proactively, no matter who is doing that, then you need a tool like Helpwise, where you go ahead, you plug in your, let's say HubSpot to Helpwise, you've created an email sequence, someone responds back, your team of 10 people sees that email and anyone can get back right then and there. So that is something which increases your chances of better engagement. coming out as a as uh, a proactive organization is always a better idea. You have to be ridiculously proactive. Okay, now here is an example of SMS automation sequence, right? And this is something that we've created on HubSpot. And as you can see over here, now this is where where you can automate things. And as I was saying that it is going to reduce efforts of redundant tasks. You don't have to go ahead and type out every email after a call, right? Let's say so with HubSpot, there is an option where JustCall can allow you to set your lead status through to a certain code as well. That code can be used as a trigger to send out a text message, and that text message can be customized all the way that you want in HubSpot. And that's the best part. Once you've done this, you don't have to worry about that, whether I forgot to send a text message or whether I forgot to send an email. Everything is going to be compacted and being taken care of with an integration part. Automatic logging of sales calls. Now, as you see over here that, I, on a call with a prospect I made from my HubSpot, I'm taking down notes during the call. And again, if a call disconnects, I can still finish my notes over here. I don't have to wait for the call to disconnect and then I take down my notes. Once that happens, I select a call disposition, I click on save, end the call, and my call is logged right then and there, right? So this saves me a lot of time as well. It gives me that opportunity to, as soon as my call ends, I go ahead and call the next person. I don't have to worry about giving it more time to go ahead and write down all my notes. The auto dialer is something which which you must have seen a lot of times in the previous sequences that I was describing. And the auto dialer, what it does is, it gives you that flexibility where your leads are just flowing into a dialer which is dialing in and out calls, and you're taking down notes. Every information is going into your CRM. Everything is happening right then and there. The good part is that you don't have to do the effort of dialing each and every contact again. Go to the profile, dial the contact, go to the profile, dial the contact. No, you don't have to do that. What you have to do is just put on your headsets, start the calling on auto dialer, and that's it. You dial one after the other calls, and you can just keep on taking down your notes. A rigorous calling situation requires an auto dialer. That is something which we believe in as a sales team. And email and CRM integration as well. Now, this is what I was talking about. This is, this is an example of HelpWise. You see over here, if someone has gotten back to me on my email, I can see all their information of, of their contact in HubSpot, their deals information, their company information, engagement, all the tasks that have been done against this contact, everything at one single place. And that's the best part, all the information bundled up at one single place for you to assist more while you're writing down emails as well. So that's where an integration with CRM and email comes into play. Of course, you can have all these integrations as well. We offer a lot of integrations for calls, SMS, and I think emails as well. Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, Copper. There are a lot of names over here. Freshdesk, ActiveCampaign, Outreach.io. And there is, of course, Copper, Infusionsoft, etc. that will allow you to create tons of automations with SMS as well as, with emails as well. Now, the case study that I was talking to you about when I began this session, it's about a customer of ours, which is 123 Websites. And here we're describing that outreach, we help them with their outreach of high priority leads. Now, what the 123 Website people were suffering from, or I should say what they were seeing as a situation for them, was that they were not able to hit their targets at the right time. Now, At the right time means that they are missing out on that bottom funnel leads, which are the top priority ones. What we did was we actually helped them with 4 solutions. First, a predictive dialer to increase outreach, an SMS automation for better engagement, email sequence for lead nurturing, and HubSpot integration for all the channels of communication. And here's what we implemented for them. So website form was fetching leads into a HubSpot CRM contact list. That list was then put into a rigorous calling of predictive dialer. After that, if there is a certain disposition or a certain segmentation of leads, then they were put into an SMS automation and of course the email sequence, sending them back to a predictive dialer in case they are passive. As you can see over here, this slide shows you how easy it is to add and get these things in place with an auto dialer of JustCall as well. So, you can sync your HubSpot contacts in a particular list and all of your team members can call just from that. So that is something which is very, very easy and very effective as well. Result of this was that their outreach actually increased by 5.5% and they were able to hit their targets as well. Now, the information of their targets, of course, that is confidential and I cannot disclose that over here. But Scott, who is one of my POCs over there, he mentioned that they've been able to connect with more people in the past 6 months than in the past 1.5 years. And this is something which is amazing. This is what technology brings to your plate. It gives you that accessibility. It gives you that flexibility of connecting with more and more people. What have these strategies brought as an impact on us? And what we saw was that, with these strategies of prioritization, of ICP score, we actually saw that, our top funnel lead paid conversions shifted and increased from 49% to 68% in the past couple of months. And the moderate and low priority leads saw an increase of from 20% to 28% and 3% to 8%, which is, for the low priority leads, I really think that's an amazing number. And kudos to my sales team as well on that. The revenue closure for the past 2 months has been around $250,000, and which is a significant increase with $80,000 in the past 2 months. And I think this is something which has been effective for us. And, that's why we thought to share it with you guys in this lovely episode of another practical sales growth sessions. In case you need any further consultations, any further questions, any further discussions you might want to have about these strategies, about all these situations, you can always write back to me at s@justcall.io. My name is Sandy, and over to you, Abhishek.
Thanks a lot, Sandy. Okay, so guys, right now we are in the Q&A round, and I have actually got one question from Bruce in my email. So he's asking, automation in sales is kind of new for our organization. Can you suggest the best stack or set of tools for our sales teams for heavy outreach and how everything can be monitored?
Right. See, automations is a very, Bruce, automations it's a very big and a very vast strategy to get into. If you, there are going to be 3 steps. First, you'll have to segmentize that what is going to be your strategy for, for the segmentation of your leads. Then you need to prioritize those leads based on, your contact, based on what profile is most ideal to you. As I said, Bruce, you need to figure out the ICP, the ideal customer profile is something that you will need to figure out. Once you have that in place, once you have the industry that you want to talk to, once you have the ideal timeline that you want, once you have the ideal ticket size that you want, once you have those numbers in place, you are definitely going to create the best automation part. Now, as far as strategies for outbound is strategies for automations are concerned, see, we actually recommend a mixed strategy of sequences, right? there can be a strategy of of a couple of emails as the first touch point, and then you send out a follow-up SMS, right? Or you can begin with an SMS and then you can start with emails and calls as follow-ups. So that is something which is which can be, as I said in the beginning as well, that it can be different for different people, but we feel that that is something which definitely does work.
Okay. I think, Sandy, you can really help him if you can talk about the tools or stack which his organization can use for heavy outreach.
Okay.
Actually, the two major requirements, what I can see from his email is like, one is definitely heavy outreach, and the second thing is like how everything can be monitored. So,
right.
yep.
See, as far as Bruce, I think for heavy outreach, you can use, first of all, you can use JustCall's auto dialer, right? That will allow you to connect with more and more people because you will be dialing more calls at the same time. Second is, of course, going to be a tool that supports automation. So in that case, either you can go for HubSpot or you can go for ActiveCampaign. These are the two tools that I recommend because, of course, they have a lot of flexibility that they offer in terms of not just the automations that you can create, but also the kind of of ease that you have with the integrations that JustCall offers with them. Third, for emails, I think you can either use if you want to automate emails, that also you can do via ActiveCampaign and with HubSpot as well. Again, they are both going to be some situations which are going to be cost effective. That is something I think which you can judge yourself. But yeah, as I said, JustCall for your heavy outreach, and second is for automations. Definitely go for ActiveCampaign and HubSpot. Or if you are, a little tech savvy, then you can go for Infusionsoft, and also I think you can consider Zapier as well, for heavy automation in case you want that.
Okay, Sandy, I think we are running out of time, like 2 minutes, and Travis have a question here. So he's asking, can you set up auto dialer with Zoho? Do you have a JustCall rep who will help with the integration? How do you, means there are like multiple set of questions. So how do you create the list of numbers for the call campaign out of Zoho leads?
Okay, perfect. Just 2 minutes and I'll, we can wrap this up. I think this is a very interesting question and an easy one. So see, with Zoho, yes, definitely we do have a native integration. And we do allow you to select leads from Zoho, okay, and fetch them into auto dialer, right? Every call, every text message, every call that you make via the auto dialer using Zoho CRM and JustCall, all of those are logged within Zoho as well, and that's the interesting part. Okay, the flexibility is, of course, you can do all of that from Zoho, so that's something that's helpful. As far as the rep that can help you, of course, I am there. This is my email address. You can always email me, and I'll get in touch. No problem at all.
There is one more question from Zay. Do you have an integration with SendLane?
SendLane, I don't think so as of now, Jay. But definitely, since you've mentioned this, I'll go ahead and keep this in my engineering team tech stack, and let you know in case they need anything else. You can leave your email address over here, and we'll get in touch with you.
Okay, yeah, I think we will be able to get the email address. Okay, guys, so is there any more question? We would definitely like to round up in like 1 or 2 minutes if you guys don't have any question. Okay, so I think this is it. Definitely you guys can reach out to us at s@justcall.io, and means if you have any question around this particular webinar or around how you can do like sales automations or sales prospecting. So our team is definitely there to consult you over these topics. And I think, yeah, Sandy, so I think we're done for today.
All right. No problem at all. Thank you so much for your time, guys. It was great connecting with you. And Bye bye.